Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. This is, I believe, the third time I was trying to get a gauge of how many times I've come to the Tea Party here in Mason. And I appreciate the fact that Patriots meet like this because we're in desperate need of it. And I can tell you that there's a lot of things to talk about, and I can also describe to you that my conversation with you is going to be a little bit different than the typical political speeches that you've heard. We're in a different time frame. We need different type of people. We need different type of leaders. So I'm going to give you basically an abridged version of a war that we're in. I'm going to talk to you in detail about this war. And I'm also going to describe to you a little bit about my background. I'm going to keep this really short and sweet. That way you can ask me any questions you have. Because this is obviously a very important race. It's an emotional race. And we'll go into those details as well. But starting off, my name is Daniel McCarthy. Again, Demand Daniel is my nickname, of course. We've got a nice little branding exercise going on there. Demand Daniel actually is something that now is, in the state, we have built a network, a coalition across the state of patriots. It's really been remarkable to watch. We've unified the grassroots of the party. The conservative base of the party, I'd like to say at this point, we've done a fantastic job of coalescing the conservative grassroots all across the state. And I'll describe to you, I think, why that's happened as well. I think I'd be remiss to say, though, that, and I have to say this in a way that I think makes the most amount of sense. There will never be a day in which I would advocate for anyone kneeling, and I want to say this with Sheriff in the room. I would never advocate for any sheriff or anybody kneeling except for in front of this altar, in front of our Lord and Savior. Right? Unbelievable the times that we're in. I mean, who would have ever imagined this? I can tell you, I am extremely happy that I'm in this race now. If I would have decided not to get into this race, and all the world events happened over the past 3 months, I would have gone crazy in my living room. So God has a good sense of humor. My name is, again, Daniel McCarthy. I'm running for a special election. This is not an incumbent. Martha was appointed to the seat after she lost the other Senate seat to Kirsten Sinema. So now we had an open primary for this election. You wouldn't know that because of the way that the Republican machinery worked. Unfortunately, we really don't have two parties in this country. We have one. They act like two, but that's a whole other topic. So we're in a situation where this special election is the Republican primary. Martha and I are the only two on the ballot. So it's just Martha and myself. August 4th, you will make a selection. Whoever wins in August will then go on to face Mark Kelly. I call him Marxist Kelly. This is a gun-grabbing leftist. This is the most dangerous politician we've ever dealt with in the state of Arizona. And let me tell you, the Democrat Party has been working on investing in this man for over 10 years to put him in this spot. There's a lot going on here, a lot of corruption going on here that's made this race what it is today. My family and I have been living the American dream. I mean that in all senses of the word. I grew up in a Nazarene church, going to church Sunday mornings, church is Sunday night, church is Wednesday evening. I grew up in that environment. My mom and dad were great parents. Nazarene church is, I'm now a non-denominational church now. I have 4 beautiful children. I look at those children as a privilege. My wife and I have been married for 17 years. And I'm not kidding you when I say American dream. Those 4 kids are fantastic. The age ranges, by the way, are 16 to 10. 16 to 10. So when I told them when we were making this decision, and I said, hey, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C. if we get this done, they're not sad about it. Like, that's not cool anymore. So I don't understand how that works. I can tell you, on top of that, though, on top of a great family, and most of my family is here in Arizona. My parents live in Sun City. My grandfather actually lives in Sun City, almost 96 years old, somewhere in that range. My uncle, we have a lot of family in Sun City, etc. We love Arizona. But on top of the family, we also have had remarkable business success. My background is all business background. I've been the CEO for different organizations over the last 10 years. Those organizations range from cosmetics to real estate. Don't ask me. Okay, it's a weird world. The cosmetics company name is Makeup Eraser. That organization is a global brand. We sell millions of units around the world, but we bring in tens of millions of dollars into the state of Arizona with that company. The real estate organization last year did $1 billion in sales in 2019. So my background again is very aggressive business building, entrepreneurial background. I have ownership in lots of different companies, either minority or a majority stake. So again, I'm not saying cliche. The American dream is what my family has experienced. I mean, this country is everything to us. We relish in what a lot of you fought for. And that's why I'm here in front of you today. I believe in all senses that we're in a war right now in the United States. We've actually been in a war. The difference of this war is it's the most complex and sophisticated war that we've ever been in this country's history. And I'm going to describe this war to you that we're in, and I'm going to describe to you some of the details of this war, and then I'm going to talk to you, obviously, of why I'm here. I'm going to describe this war in multiple fronts. We're being attacked with multiple fronts. And I'm going to describe these fronts to you, and I'm going to give them to you. There's 3 of them that I'm going to talk about. There's actually more fronts of this war, but the 3 that I'm going to talk about are the most important, I think, because they kind of highlight my policy. The first one is that we have a southern border of our state and all across the southern part of the United States. It has been open my entire life. I'm 35 years old. My entire life, we have had a porous border across the southern part of the United States. We have now 30 million illegal aliens in this country, 30 million. The drain on financial resources due to 30 million people is so substantial, it's so large in terms of math, just the raw numbers, that you can't even calculate the damage. And that's been going on year over year over year. So we are seeing this, obviously, financial strain on our system due to 30 million illegal aliens. But also, what else are we seeing because of our porous border? We now have 60,000 deaths a year due to fentanyl and heroin. 60,000 a year due to fentanyl and heroin. No longer are kids experimenting with a little bit of pot in high school. These kids now are dying because they're experimenting with drugs. Don't think that's not systematic. What else are we dealing with? We have a huge element of human trafficking, of sex trafficking, right? Listen to this. Phoenix, Arizona is the kidnapping capital of the country. It's number 1 in the country, Phoenix. It's number 2 in the world, next to Mexico City. Do you think there's a little bit back and forth going on there? Arizona is known as the kind of the freeway system of sex trafficking. It's billions of dollars a year that go back and forth with human beings. I can't stomach this anymore. And a lot of it, by the way, is happening under political cover. There's an old saying in politics that organized crime does not happen without political cover. I think that's very fair to say, wouldn't you? Okay, so this is one front of the war that we're in. You have La Raza elements coming across our border. You have Mexican nationalist elements coming across our border. You just have this all-out war happening. And we've been ignoring it. And that's one front. What's the second front of this war? Well, in the church here, this is a great place to have this conversation. Has anyone been paying attention specifically to Minnesota? Not just the recent events with the riots, but before that. Have you guys seen the growth of the Muslim faith in Minnesota? What's going on there? Is it kind of coincidental, by the way, that in Minnesota now they're calling to defund that police force in Minnesota and Minneapolis? There's a huge undertow in Minnesota. Your politicians haven't had the courage or the spine to tell you that there is a faith in this country that's actually a war plan. The Christian faith doesn't contradict our Constitution. The Jewish faith doesn't contradict our Constitution. Atheism doesn't contradict our Constitution. The Muslim faith, though, folks, there is a war plan outlined in the Quran that does contradict our Constitution. And it's okay that elect a federal senator that can say that. It's okay to say to have your elected senator go to Washington, D.C. and look at people in the eyes and say, we have a problem with a faith in this country that's actually not a faith at all. It's a war plan. And we better start having that conversation soon. Because I don't want to give my kids that fight that we're about to give them. So this is, again, just a second front of this war, where the PC culture has made it to where we can't even talk about a faith that the Marine Corps was actually developed for. Did you guys know that? Okay, and what's the third front? And this is the last front, I promise, because it's too doom and gloom for a beautiful evening like this to talk about this. And we're in a church for that, so it's supposed to be nice. The third front of this war is that we have a Democrat Party in this country that has now been out and out hijacked by communism. It is no longer a socialist platform. It's no longer a liberal platform. The Communist Manifesto planks are being followed verbatim by the Democrat Party. If you don't believe me, I mean, if you think I'm outlandish by this, just because my last name is McCarthy, my middle name is Joseph, by the way. There's no relation. Listen, there's no relation. God has a sense of humor, though. Okay? Communism is now here. They have weaponized our government. They have been weaponizing our Constitution. They found the vulnerabilities in our Constitution. They've weaponized it. They're attacking us from within. They're crumbling us with debt that's unsustainable. They're taking our institutions. They're ripping down our history. These are the same things that have happened. Argentina, Venezuela. There's other countries that have gone through what we're going through. So now, that's the mind frame I came into this race. The writing's on the wall. We don't have time. We don't have time for Marthas anymore. We don't have time for Mitt Romneys anymore. There's a reason that our president, do you guys sleep a little bit better at night knowing that he's there? Yeah. There's a reason that his instincts told him to get in 2016. I believe the living God had his way of putting that man in office. I believe that. I say that to you because we have to send him reinforcements. We need real people. I'm not taking the pay. I won't take the compensation to be your senator. I don't want the pension. I've self-funded the primary. I've been doing this for 9 months. I don't want the insider trading tips. I want to make sure we preserve this country for my children, and for your children, and for your grandchildren. And I will do whatever it takes. We have done over 50,000 miles, and I'll kind of wrap up with this before I answer any questions you guys have. But we have done it somewhere in the ballpark of 50,000 miles or more all across the state. We have traveled around. We have gone to every nook and cranny that you can across the state, trying to earn your vote. What we've been doing is we developed a strategy early on in this race because everyone said, Daniel, this is impossible. It's an impossible race. She's got the president's support. She's got the RNC support. She's got all this stuff. Really what she has is Mitch McConnell's support. Right? And they have a playbook that they follow. So we dissected that playbook. And here's what we found out. We found out that they don't play defense very well. They play offense pretty good, but they don't play defense very well. And we knew the best way for us to establish an offense is to mobilize people. So that's what we did. It started with the gun confiscation measures. What I did was rather than running for office like a typical politician, what I did was I said, we're just going to start going to work. What would we do today if I were your senator? Now remember, this is back in August. If you don't remember the time frame, I was going around and talking to people, and I would say, how many of you know what a red flag law is? And no one would raise their hand. No one even knew what it was. So what we started to do was we went on a public awareness campaign. We just went around to talk to people about the dangers of allowing the government's camel head to go into that tent. And slowly we started gaining momentum. We started going to board of supervisor meetings. We started making contact. We started building relationships with people. We started doing all the things that we possibly could to push back against a Republican governor and a Republican senator advocating for red flag laws. We made it very painful for them. Very. We created content and just pushed that content all over the place. We went to council meetings. We went to the Republican state meetings. We actually got resolutions passed at the state meetings, which surely knows, and a lot of you may know, it's virtually impossible when you have a corrupt chairman or woman to get resolutions passed. We got it down. When coronavirus hit, I'm not downplaying the virus. You have to watch out for your health. Many of you are suffering from respiratory illnesses as it is, so you have to be careful. However, I don't think it's a good idea to shut down the entire world for it. Now, what scared me a great deal was, by the way, is when they shut down the entire world, it seemed kind of Orwellian in nature how that whole thing happened, didn't it? Kind of all at once.
It was
A little plan, maybe, right? So what did we do? We went to work. We gathered over 7,000 signatures from around the state of people that signed a declaration, not a petition, not a resolution or an ordinance call. We had a declaration signed by over 7,000 people of the state sent directly to the governor that said, we will not comply with any more of your executive orders. I went down to the Capitol almost daily at times. We had thousands of people show up at the Capitol. We rallied down there. We said, open our government back up. Open our society back up now. We pushed back. What I've tried to do is demonstrate how I would act as a senator. We're going to work. I'm a workhorse. We're going to get down. We're going to get our hands dirty. You're going to hire me as your senator. I'm going to go to the border, and my presence will be there at the border until the problem is solved. I'm going to work my tail off for you guys. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support. But if anything else, like I said, if you take nothing away from this conversation, just please understand. Ronald Reagan said that, you know, we're only one generation of losing our freedom. I would dare say that it's now one election cycle.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's here.
So I hope, again, I hope I can receive your support, but I'll answer any questions you guys have. Nothing is off limits.
Okay. Rebecca? Yes. You want to take that mic for this side of the room, and I'll come on over here. And you know how we do our Q&A. First this side, then this side, and that side, and then this side. So who wants the first question? And these are live, by the way, so you just have to put yourself up there. Got a question right there. Oh, no, I don't know how to use one of those. So
Oh, yeah, oh, boy, oh my God.
okay. Hold it
You
close.
talk about the head of a camel being under the tent. I think we have a bigger head of camel under the tent, and only one senator that actually works toward pushing that camel back. It's government surveillance. And the virus has not helped much with that. We've got all these people saying, we're going to track you, we're going to tag you, we're going to flag you, we're going to whatever. Now, the senator I'm referring to is Rand Paul.
Yeah.
He absolutely hates any kind of government surveillance. Well, we've got a couple of other people like Nunes and also, but the majority of the senators, and definitely all of the House almost, is perfectly happy to having that kind of surveillance on us. What would be your position on that? Well, I mean, I guess I have an idea what your position is going to be. But what can be done? How do we push back on that? How do we regain the ground with us?
I will make Rand Paul look like a leftist. I mean, seriously, I remember growing up reading The Consciousness of Conservatism by Barry Goldwater. I mean, I was infatuated with the idea of limited government with individual rights, individual freedom. So when we're watching these type of Orwellian measures, and I love the term Orwellian because it's really important for us to realize that if we don't start pushing back against these surveillance tactics, we're losing our country. I mean, we're on the tipping point right now. So how we solve it, by the way, it's quite simple. There's more of us than there is of them, a lot more. And we have to mobilize. And I think that's what excited me the most about this particular election and this particular opportunity, because this provides me with a soapbox that frankly a senator hasn't had in a long time. You guys propel me past this primary. The momentum alone will dry up Mike Bloomberg's money for Mark Kelly. You know, and then what happens is that then we can start to mobilize people from around this country around a consistent platform. We don't have a shared vision anymore as a country. These riots are all these riots are happening because we don't have a shared vision. I want to see what America's potential is. I want to see what kind of wealth creation we can get back to. Let's talk about how the great equalizer in this country is capitalism. Get the government out of the way so real capitalism can happen. You want to see freedom? You want to see the best living conditions for all races, all creeds? Capitalism is the only way to do it. You know that, I know that. So if we can somehow, again, mobilize everyone around a shared vision, a shared mission statement. In a company, it's called a mission statement, right? You have a simple mission statement, you rally everyone around that mission statement, and every day that's all you're trying to do. So it's the same principles, really. And I think that's why Trump has had the amount of success that he has had. He was so, he overemphasizes make America great again, right? So if we dissect that and we apply that principle to kind of the next wave of conservatism, I think we can have success. I do believe our better days are ahead, by the way. I don't think they're behind us. I do believe they're ahead of us.
Okay, Joseph is next here.
Mark Kelly has done a pretty good job in characterizing himself as a moderate. How are you going to counteract that? Because I know he's not.
No, you're absolutely right. That I was expecting that Martha would be out of this race by now. I mean that wholeheartedly. I'm not saying it facetiously. I would have expected her to be appointed somewhere. I thought the RNC would have smartened up because they would have seen our growth. I know what our internal numbers are, so I know that we're on the cusp of that breakout in terms of the numbers. So what frustrates me is that I can't focus on him, because as soon as we can start to do what we need to do, which is tie him to this radical leftist agenda. If you associate yourself with the Democrat Party at this point, if you have a D next to your name, you have absolutely no credibility. I don't care. By the way, we have very little credibility as an R. But they have a lot less. The best thing we can do is tie him to these radical endeavors that are being pushed on us by the left. Gun control measures in Arizona are not going to fly. There's 2.6 million gun owners here in the state. 2.6 million.
That's almost everybody.
I mean, my family, a lot of my family is actually here because we're avid huntsmen, avid fishermen. We're not losing our gun rights. So if we can logically have that conversation and explain to the Arizona people that this is radical. You know, this isn't JFK's party anymore. And then tie him to the fact that what's going to happen when Mark Kelly gets in the Senate? You think he's not going to vote with Chuck Schumer? You think he's not going to vote with Bernie Sanders? So I think, again, if we just tie him, it's all about timing. You know, a lot of it has to do with timing. Mark Kelly is actually an easier opponent than Martha is. Once we get past Martha, Mark's going to be pretty easy. I'm going to live in that man's head rent-free for the rest of his life. Mark my words, it is going to be ugly. It is going to be ugly. Please.
Yes, I was just here in a house of worship. I believe that the U.S., we have a trinity also, and it's liberty, e pluribus unum, and in God we trust. And what I find out here is there's a lack of values, morality, the common denominator. I have a lot of people say, well, look what's happened. Trump's going to get elected. I said, no. Go around, knock door to door, and if you assess the values and the attitudes and just political ideology, we're still in trouble. I wish I had your confidence, but somehow once they get indoctrinated, and they have for 3 generations now, into the secular progressive ideology, it's almost impossible to unlock that and get a message in. How are you going to do that?
It's only through the power of Jesus Christ that we're going to get through this. Don't allow me to give you any misconception that I am not in just constant communication, asking for mercy. Because I don't want to ever give the impression that it's going to be anything outside of a spiritual revival that's going to solve our problems here in this country. I truly believe that. But we've got to, frankly, in terms of what I believe needs to happen is you can't have you can't have a faith with Christianity that has, frankly, in a lot of ways, our pastors, frankly, in some of these churches, haven't done the best job. And we see this obviously across the country, but we've got to lean on our Christian leaders to say we need them to participate a little bit differently.
Right.
I mean, look at what the churches have done in terms of not allowing politics into their house of worship. That's where I think we need a little bit of a revival.
Yeah, and it's frustrating when people go, well, it's in God's hands. It's in God's hands. And I ask them, look at your hands. If your hands aren't here to do God's work, don't tempt God to do the work. And it's hard to get them to do that.
That's it. You can pray all you want, but you better be ready to get to work too.
Put it into action. Okay, so we have Bob here. Yay!
Hi there, how you doing?
Good, sir.
You said there's about 30 million illegals in this country. I think there's a lot more than that. And most of them come here for the free education, free health care, free phones, and free everything else, and the list goes on and on. So when you get elected, would you be willing to get a bunch of your fellow legislators and introduce bills to cut all that trillions of dollar aid that we're wasting and turn it back into our country and use it on Americans?
Absolutely. 110%.
Has this ever been done before? Try to introduce a bill to cut off that waste of money?
Not that I'm aware of.
Would you be willing to jump up?
Absolutely. By the way, when I say we're going to be willing to do it, we will be doing that day one. I go in to swear in, we will be fully prepared. You're dealing with a new type of machinery in terms of a federal senator. In November, when we win, in that period of 2 months until January when we go to swear in, I will assemble the very best team you've ever seen. I will assemble the very best people you've ever seen around the state. We will be prepared to, and by the way, they'll be Arizona people, not Washington, D.C. bureaucrats, okay? And what we will do is we will be fully prepared to be very disruptive in Washington, D.C. I don't know if I'll last more than 2 years. And this is only a 2-year term, by the way. It's not the full 6-year term. It's just to fill John McCain's vacancy.
Well, you better hurry up and do all the damage.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys will probably have a neighbor, by the way, because they'll run me out of Phoenix, too, I'm sure, that by the time this is done.
Okay, Don in the back has a question.
I just wanted to let you know that I've seen you at Tea Party meetings twice now, previous to tonight. I have not in the past supported you very much. I've changed my mind. I will support you now.
Thank you.
Do you have somebody over there again? Anyone over here? Over here. There's too many.
You know, it only took Lexi and I 3 months to get married. You're a lot harder than...
Okay, this is, how do you say your name?
My first name's Alejandra,
Alejandra. Okay, Alejandra's here.
but I go by Allie.
Okay. That's why I didn't recognize, because you come to church here, right?
I'm sorry.
You come to church here? No, you don't? Okay, I've met you somewhere. I recognize you now.
Walmart.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Al, go ahead.
Just listen to the comments.
Okay.
I just want to share something before I ask the question.
Okay. Keep
Social
it short as
Media
possible.
is supposed to have made the statement, once a society loses its courage, that is the beginning of the end. My question to you is in regards to China. And when you look to see the corruption that has occurred in our universities, not to mention Washington, D.C., all over the country in our media, what kinds of steps are you looking at taking to address that and to try to cut off? There are times where they're stealing our intellectual property.
Yep.
And they're involvement with the coronavirus.
Yes, so I'm very familiar with dealing with China because we beat China daily. And what I mean by that is that we've done business with China now for years. We know exactly what's going on the ground in China. The operatives that are coming across into our country to fight the war on behalf of China know our Constitution better than most of our elected officials do. These are individuals that are extremely sharp, they are extremely well equipped, and they're extremely well funded. So you're dealing with a situation where we have not realized that we're in a war, and we have been underwriting that war. Let me give you a quick little story about this. I had a gentleman that was MIT grad. He was sent to China on behalf of an organization here that I have a relationship with. He was sent to China for 2 years, strictly to focus on cryptocurrency. And his job there was to dissect what they're doing in China. A lot of people don't know this. China has what's called a 100-year plan. Okay, it's not what you think. It's a legitimate, very detailed 100-year plan that they modify on a regular basis to kind of adapt to the new conditions. They are ready to take over the world dominant spot. They are prepared and they have all the relationships to do it. They already are. We are the last hope. I started to realize how sophisticated the war was with China years ago when we started to figure out how we were going to do business, because one of the things that the United States has done is relinquished all of our manufacturing to China. So now China controls even the lead in your bullets. Did you know that? You can't even get the lead in your bullets made here in America. Did you know that, officer? Sure?
I know it's getting hard to find anything from here, that's for sure.
And I know they use the EPA to shut down the lead production.
So we started to look into this. I mean, so for example, we have our cosmetics company is a textile. You can't even manufacture textile here in the United States. Polyester, are you kidding me? You can't get it here in the United States. It's only in China. They have literally extracted all of the manufacturing, so we have to break that block. And we have to not only break that block, we have to move manufacturing back into, every state should have the ability to be self-sufficient. It shouldn't just be the United States. What we want to create policy around is making it to where every single state can be self-reliant and self-sufficient. Most states have the minerals needed and have the ability to be self-sufficient. So it's imperative that we break that block. And then what we have to do is play dirty. You got to have someone that frankly is willing to just beat them up. And I am. I beat them up every day. We sell China-made products into China. We're one of the few companies in America that actually do that. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because here's why this is so important. We've got a huge stranglehold on our debt with China. So you better send someone to D.C. that's willing to look at them and say, hey, we're not paying that debt. Period. That deal's off. I don't care about the nature of political norms of the past. Those days are gone. We are going to cripple you. And not only are we going to cripple your society, we are going to motivate your civilians to uprise in your communities, just like you have done here. We are going to see American flags waving in China, mark my words. You guys send me to Washington, D.C., you are going to see American flags waving in China. And we have to, because if you don't send someone that goes on offense, we're in big trouble here, and they are underwriting a lot of the problems. So yes, we're very well equipped for this.
Okay. Hallie, after is Sue Ellen over there. Sue Ann. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sue Ann.
Hi, I'm new to Payson. We just moved here from California. So I'm really happy that we can express our true feelings about politics in this place. And I'm really glad to hear you talk tonight with such courage, and I feel relieved. But I have a question: how you're going to handle doing 3 jobs now? Senator and CEO of two companies.
Oh no, no. When we made this decision, it's funny you say that. My companies have ran better without me there for the last couple of years. It's the weirdest thing. And our sales also this year continued to increase even with my absence. And I've been told that when I'm in the office, things slow down. So the nice thing is that we have a great culture, a great team of people. I haven't really been much involved with the day-to-day operations for the companies for a while. I'm a good technician, I'm a good planner, but I'm a really, really good delegation of talent. When I find talent, we know how to foster that talent and put them in a position to be the best. I hire up, so we're very good at that. So luckily, the companies, I haven't had to work the companies in the last, I haven't done anything. On paper, I still have some legal ties with everything, obviously, but it's on paper at this point. The moment I'm elected senator, I will be retired for good. I won't be in business until God tells me otherwise. And I don't say that lightly, by the way, when I say,
I believe everything you say, honestly.
I'm serious, they really don't want me in the office. I don't know what it is.
Okay, Hallie?
Yeah, I just have something, China has taken over, and a lot of the Asian companies have taken over a lot of our properties, and gone. They have control of so much. We have no idea. But another thing that really is upsetting to me is we have young men and women who are applying to medical school and are ending up having to go out of the country. One of my sons just returned from Guadalajara. He graduated in the top 3% of ASU. He was accepted at 5 different medical schools. He went ahead and got his master's in hospital administration, and they still didn't have room for him because they were taking all the foreign students first. Okay? So he went down to Guadalajara. He just got back last week, and we're thrilled because he will continue up here for a year, and then he's going on to Mayo as a neurosurgeon in Florida. So we're not talking about a kid that, was just kind of trying to get in medical school. And I have my grandson just graduated from Hanover College. It's a very small college in Indiana. And they have the same problem. The guys and gals can't get into classes in the colleges because the foreign students get first pick. And we really need to do something about it, because not only are we're losing the ability. Soon we're not going to have any doctors, because if all the foreign doctors decide to leave, we don't have much here. So do you have any suggestions on that?
A ton. We need to deregulate the barrier of entry for individuals to get into the medical field, first and foremost. We need to make that less of a bureaucratic state. We need to make it to where individuals in each state can determine what is acceptable for MDs and things of that nature. We have way too many federal requirements that need to be broken out. The federal government, by their way of restricting, they are creating this bottleneck that we're about to experience. You're 100% correct. It's very dangerous. In addition to that, we can't reward non-Americans. We have to stop this. As a parent, you guys all know this, one of the things that you're taught as a parent is that you can't take care of your children unless you take care of yourself. So you can't be an effective parent if you're not where you need to be spiritually, financially, physically. You have to be there. So we have to start adopting that same type of conversation with the American public and say, we can't take care of the world if we can't take care of ourselves. And right now we're not taking care of ourselves. This is a great example of...
It's really scary. I have a nephew who's going to Northeastern University, and he is on a full academic and athletic scholarship, and he still can't get into the classes. He said, it's amazing. He said, they get first pick at everything. So it's major universities as well as the private colleges.
Sad.
Excuse me, please. You see that thing that clock?
Yes. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, every one of the ones in my house say something different, so that's a good one. When do you want to go out to your meeting?
I'm good for another, I'd say probably 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
Tanya, I know Tanya back there she'll eventually stand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do we have one on this side? Question? Okay, we're going to come over here to this gentleman here.
I'd rather answer your guys' questions in this meeting. I really can't address them.
That's Larry. I try to help people remember. It's been 12 weeks, Larry. Come on.
All the news upsets me. But what upsets me today is how they're tearing down the Southern culture. It just annoys me to no end to see somebody tear down Robert E. Lee's statue. Such an honorable Christian man. They don't understand that war at all. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, now I can understand the Confederate flag, how it upsets the blacks and all that stuff, but they're completely destroying it. And that upsets me, amongst other things. Anyway, I don't know what to do about it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it because the council members or whatever voted against it, 9 out of 12 or whatever, so down come the statues. So anyway.
It's equally as heartbreaking for me to watch, sir, because I believe that the black community in our country is so taken advantage of by the left. The left hijacks.
They're misinformed.
Absolutely, and I mean, I have, let me tell you, very smart black men and women in this country are standing up against this stuff.
Right, I understand that too. They're just drowned out.
They are, but I mean, the reality of it is that we have to celebrate those individuals. We have to not only celebrate them, but obviously endorse them, push them up, so they can be the voices that we need. Because, like you said, it's just a shame. I mean, if you talk to most people, they don't even know what the Reconstruction Act is. And they don't even know how that branch of the Reconstruction Act, since then, our country has been basically de facto. A lot of people don't know the true history behind, like you said, what happened there. But it's very, very bad.
I haven't said this publicly before, but I'm going to. I think the blacks ought to get out on their hands and knees every morning and pray to God that they were brought from Africa to the United States. They've gone from a mud hut to living in a prosperous country in the world, and they ought to be thankful that this is just their way to get to the top, and it's there for them if they want to take advantage of it.
If I could say for that comment, sir, is that I think all of us, of every race, need to get on our knees and kiss this ground. We all.
Came in a different time.
That's right.
Okay, we have David.
I hope this doesn't come off badly, but
This is a safe zone.
my wife whispered into my ear, "Oh, it's kind of sad that all of the people here are old." No, you know.
Mature.
I said it the other way.
But what I want to say is, I think this generation may be able to pull off doing what you want to do, but what are you going to do to get the younger people involved and help keep this momentum going?
Yeah.
Because the liberals, they control all media, and the little kids, they believe everything they hear on Facebook.
Schools.
You know what I have found to be successful with what you're describing is people like success. People want to be associated with success. People want to be associated with winners. Victims only have a shelf life of a couple of months maximum. You're going to watch this thing fizzle off so fast because people don't want to be victims. I don't care what color you are. Let me ask you a question. You don't think for a second, how many black people right now do you think are sitting there saying to themselves, God, another one of these situations? They don't want to be associated with victimhood. I mean, some of my best friends are, my son's wrestling coach is a great example. I put a video out with this guy. This guy is so smart. He's an independent, by the way. Because he doesn't have a home. He doesn't want to be associated with the left, but he certainly doesn't want to be associated with what the right's reputation is a lot of times. We've got to break through these barriers and start communicating with the younger generation and saying to them, look, there is a pathway of American exceptionalism. You are associated with it. It's okay. It's okay to be part of success. It's a good thing. The world needs us to be ultra successful. And if we can break that noise, unfortunately, by the way, one thing I'll point out to everybody, this is a really big problem that we're experiencing today. The average attention span right now is 9 seconds. No. This is, by the way, this is even for, I don't want to say mature, even for mature. Okay. The attention span that you guys have and that we all have now is decreasing, right? You can press a button and get something delivered. Things are changing. So you've got to send people that can communicate that way in sound bites, fast, quick, and then keep it going. You've got to have someone that knows this new way of getting things done. And again, we demonstrated that. Most of my organizations, by the way, were organizations that were not well funded. We were cash and carry companies. So we know how to build momentum with nothing. And I'll end with this because I've got to get on that I'd rather answer these folks' fine questions, by the way. If I can,
I'm leaving him home next time.
I did not say old, I said there were no young people.
And that is something that we have to work on, okay?
if I could just say one thing in closing. This race, again, is the most important Senate race of our country. Arizona is going to do one of two things. We are either going to send a Republican past this primary that can win, or we're not. It's really that simple. We need someone that can actually win. We cannot afford to lose another Senate seat. That Senate seat, if you send Martha past this primary, I'm telling you in advance, mark my words, 100,000 conservative voters here in this state will not vote for her. They would rather know their enemy up front. I'm not saying that that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just telling you based off of 2018, it's going to be the same thing in 2020. I have nothing against Martha. For all I know, she's a wonderful person. But we cannot have another bureaucrat, Mitt Romney, John McCain type representing us here in Arizona. It won't work. Conservatives won't deal with it. So, I need your time, I need your talent, and I need your treasure. We have 30 days before ballots are going to hit the mail for this primary. 80% of Arizona voters vote by mail-in ballot. Not a good thing, by the way. That's one of the things. We have yard signs here, we have shirts here. If I could ask you, please, all of your capital that you invest into the campaign goes directly towards spreading our message. No staff, no nonsense, no fat. It's a lean budget. So any capital you put in goes directly towards advertising what we're doing. But I'd rather have your time and talent. If I can have you talk to all of your neighbors, to everybody you possibly can, share our flyers, take as many flyers as you need. We can win this, and we are winning. So I ask you guys to double down on my behalf. I would really appreciate it from my family to yours, and I will not let you down. You'll be very proud. We will be the very best senator of this country, not a decent one, not a mediocre one. We'll be the very best senator. So thank you very much for your time.